Today I'm going to talk about the $100 billion Infosys and Anthropic deal and try and explain what it means for all of us and what it means for the IT landscape in India. But I'm not going to do it using my computer. I'm going to do it using my notes. Please be a little more patient with me while I set the context. So, cut back to 1985. Mr. Narayan Murthy took some 15,000 rupees ka loan from his wife and has converted that to a $100 billion enterprise after 2 to 3 decades. And his problem identification in the West was quite simple. He said that there is a cost arbitrage to do the same things that those guys are doing and do it in India. So after 2 to 3 decades, that model really has not changed. Infosys today as well, and in fact the whole of Indian IT, 90% of the work that they do is managing the back-end offices of the Western Fortune 500 and many more companies. But when we say that they manage the back office, we miss one small detail, is that we manage with higher efficiency. Now that efficiency could be in terms of number of people managing it or in terms of data or volume that's being done within the Indian IT space. So efficiency and cheap are the two key takeaways from this first context. Now context number 2 is the evolution of Agentic AI. Like Narayan Murthy, somebody in San Francisco devised this idea that if there is a cost arbitrage in doing same thing in India at 1/5, why don't we create a machine which can do it at 1/100th of a cost? And that was the point where this idea of Agentic AI was born. So today, after so many years of research, that Agentic AI has finally come into picture. Now this Agentic AI, obviously a machine can actually read like a human, write like a human, click like a human, and can work in a team like a human. So obviously there's a big challenge to the current bread and butter model of Infosys. So now you would say that bhai, the second person, the one who's created this Agentic AI, obviously has a better tool. The question in everybody's mind now is why is Infosys coming together with Anthropic? Okay, so we have understood what Infosys does, and Anthropic itself looks like a competitor to Infosys. So one of the ways that Infosys could have gotten Agentic AIs was using the DIY approach. But we know Infosys, they can't code for nuts. They can run the processes very efficiently. They can do everything in the whole value chain very, very efficiently as long as it is defined. But if you tell them to create a new product, they don't really do that well because their R&D budgets are low. They don't have the proper skill set, whatever the key deal be, but they cannot create new products. And we have seen that over so many years. The best product that they may have is Finacle, which is the ICICI's back office bank software. While it could be very efficient, it's not really a great success. The second part is that it's also very expensive to create a Claude-like Agentic AI because the initial investment requirement is also very, very high. So they had to look for somebody who fits in the Agentic AI space, and who better than Claude? That one thing that matters the most for Infosys clients is that safety, and Anthropic has a reputation of doing things safely. Okay, so we see why Infosys wants to come together with Claude. Now let's see why Claude wants to come together with Infosys. Claude, as we know, has been created in a sandbox environment. So now let's see what Claude is offering in their marketing tool, that our 16 Agentic AIs were able to create a C compiler in $20,000 in 16 weeks. Compare that to a human level effort, which would have taken $1 million and 1 year to develop. But what they don't tell, and what everybody else sort of does understand, is that it was in a sandbox environment, a controlled environment. So for Claude to perform, they need a controlled environment. And as long as they need a controlled environment, they cannot win the trust of any of these big guys who are going to be their eventual business partners. So now do you see there is this very simple linkage why Anthropic and Infosys have come together as a company to explore huge opportunities of creating Agentic AI-based processes. So the roles of Infosys and Claude are clearly defined in this agreement. Infosys is the controller of the process. It is the trustworthy implementation partner. And Claude is the frontier brain of the process. Okay? The Agentic AI will come from Claude, but the boundaries within which the Agentic AI will work, that boundary will be defined by Infosys, which means it's a win-win situation for both the companies and a win-win situation for the client that they are going to implement it for. So to demonstrate how Infosys and Claude can bring higher value to the business process of their clients, Infosys and Claude did a case study. They picked up a bank in Ireland, and this bank had some 2,000 sub-processes and 40 legacy systems. So if you had to go ahead and just change your address, it would take about 7 to 8 days. Don't ask me why these banks exist with such legacy data, but they do exist. You'll be surprised in the world. Okay. So what Infosys did is they went in there and they implemented some agentic AIs. They changed the person who was sitting there, taking a request, going through 3 to 4 screens and updating whatever had to be updated and going back to the customer. They put an agentic AI there. So you will not believe it, the SLA, which was 7 days, was crushed to 30 minutes. Now that is an 11,000% increase. We already experience it here. अगर हमको बैंक में जाके अपना ID और address change कराना, it takes us about 1 day if you have to physically go there, but through the phone it can be done in less than 20 minutes. But for that bank and its customers, it was a great experience. And for Infosys and Anthropic, it was a great case study to showcase it to the world how efficient they can be when both of them are coming together. While I may have unintentionally, watered down this whole case study bit, okay, but it is something to note for. What is to identify here is that why were they able to crush the waiting time from 7-day SLA to a 30-minute. Now the biggest reason was that they were able to eliminate wait time. The wait time is time that you put in a request to the point that someone actually starts acting on it. So when there are 2 humans involved, obviously there is a wait time. Okay, I put in, पता नहीं मैं खाना खा रहा हूँ, कुछ कर रहा हूँ, I'll come back and deal with it later. So there is a wait time. But with an agentic AI, there is basically no wait time. So if you were to, in the current scheme of things, replace every person in the loop with an agentic AI, you are going to crush the wait time. And that automatically brings a great level of efficiency in anything that we do, which is human dependent. Okay. Now that is a very simple proposition to understand. But the deeper proposition to understand is that there are tasks with these banks and with many of these legacy systems wherein we want to bring those legacy systems to the current state of world affairs, but they are cost prohibitive and they are time prohibitive or risk prohibitive. But if you employ agentic AIs, okay, which are controlled by a trusted partner, they can do that job in half of the cost or maybe less, and that brings in optimization, which becomes a clear case of deployment of agentic AI in the current processes. And if you have a trusted partner who you have been working with for past 20 years, why not them? So Infosys, a dividend-paying, zero-risk-taking company, a cash cow, does this, picks up an agentic AI and tries to change the whole landscape is a big thing. And that's what I would like to acknowledge right now. And this brings me to my next point, which is the economic impact of this deal. So the economic impact of this deal, as I mentioned earlier, is huge. I mean, it opens a huge potential. Infosys, because we know that they did a deal with Anthropic, becomes the first mover in this space. Now they have the advantage of being a first mover, and they really need to, demonstrate that this can be done. If they can't demonstrate this can be done, there will be somebody else who will do with a different approach. But eventually, okay, Indian IT is going to find its feet in collaboration with these products from research labs, Claude in this case, okay? And this is what my hypothesis is, that over the years, we have perfected doing lift and shift and good quality work of all the legacy systems and sub-processes that there are in this world of these big guys, okay? And we can't bring them to speed because there is a cost or a risk prohibition. But with agentic AI, that work actually opens up. So as an economic opportunity, it opens up to us a bigger scheme of things and a greater opportunity. तो जो भी कह रहा है कि भाई आपकी जॉब जाने वाली है, वो सही बोल रहा है, आपकी जॉब जाने वाली है, but your current job is going to go, but that does not mean that you will not have a job at all. Okay, you will have a job, but it definitely will not be what you are doing. If you are punching in the numbers in a screen, you are gone. तेरा कट गया, दूसरा ही जॉब लेना ही है आपको, ये जॉब दूसरा. If you are a coder, आपको दूसरा जॉब लेना ही है. आप अगर QA हो, आपको जॉब लेना, कोई दूसरा कर रहा है at a better rate. So you'll have to find something else to do. So on that note, I would like to reassure that I very strongly feel, given the current facts, that Indian IT is not in a danger of obsolescence. In fact, it is sitting at the cusp of this next revolution of improvisation or business process improvisation. And we are going to go from BPO or say back office 1.0 to BPO or a back office 2.0 using these agentic AIs. And that was my deep dive on this particular topic of Infosys and Anthropic, the $100 billion opportunity. And it was a free flow, so I hope you liked it. And if you've been patient, with me for listening through this whole whatever number of minutes that I've spoken to you, please write in the comments and express your views as well. I mean, let's keep this conversation going as long as we can. And if you really like my content, just hit that subscribe and wait for the next one. I will try and make you happy then. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for your time. Have a good one. Bye.